Hello friends, David Burns, good to be with you today. And had a great live stream last night. Wow, we had a lot of fun last night. You guys had a lot of questions that you asked. And I noticed that there were a lot of questions that we just didn't have time to get to. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to answer the questions from my live stream last night that I didn't have time to get to today. Let's start with Adam, who says, how late in the year is it too late to make a split in Western Kentucky? Now this would be an answer for no matter where you live. This is the answer. So you don't have to worry about being in Western Kentucky or Alabama or Canada. Answer is the same for everybody. You need enough time in your area to get your hive strong enough to overwinter. It's as simple as that. So you're gonna have to do your own little research, but most of us feel like that where it is colder winters, you're going to need a little more time. But essentially, it's the same way. Here in Illinois, we're not much different than Kentucky, maybe a week or so. But I would say about maybe the end of June is the last time I would be interested in making a split, because I want them to be able to build up. Now, if you have a lot of conditions, if you already have drawn comb, they're going to build up faster if they don't have to draw the frames out. So there's always a lot of caveats and conditions. If you're in an area where you don't have good nectar sources, that's going to be another thing that enters into it. What are your mite counts? If they're really heavily infested with mites, they're going to be slowed down because they're going to be dying of viruses, so they won't build up as fast, or maybe not at all. So not a real cookbook science type answer that you can go by with that one. Sorry, Adam, but you're gonna have to do the research. But I would say watch your hives, and if you know when winter's coming in Western Kentucky, you got to have them strong before winter hits. Hey, Mark Glover says, what would you say are the advantages of learning to inspect your colonies with bare hands? Ever heard of developing allergies to propolis? My hands get crazy itchy after working the colonies. Yeah, bare hands, the advantages are you don't kill bees unknowingly, because you can feel when you're about to squeeze a bee and you're like, oh, there's a bee. With gloves on, you can't always feel that, and so you can easily kill bees, especially if your gloves are really bulky. Allergies related to propolis? Absolutely. Some people are allergic to propolis. They'll break out in a rash. I've heard of one person that was actually putting propolis in their mouth, and their mouth was irritated. They put some on one of their children's face to help with acne, and their child broke out in a rash. Very likely that you might have an allergy to propolis. Hey, Katie, how do bees process your sugar syrup recipe? Do they separate out the pollen? Do they just digest it, or can they use it to feed babies like bee bread? That's a loaded question. So within the hive, colonies are living off of essentially protein and carbohydrates. Protein is from the pollen, and carbohydrates is from the nectar from plants, flowers. And they use this in so many ways to feed themselves, to feed their young, to process it. So in the question about our recipe that I encourage you to add some protein powder to your sugar water, it's similar to what bees have when they have nectar in their honey crop. In their honey crop, toward the back of it, there's a proventriculus valve, we call it. And that proventriculus actually will kind of pull proteins, pollen grains from the honey crop into the next gut, where it's going to be used for energy. So in our recipe, they're going to do the same thing. They're pulling the proteins from the sugar water and using it for energy, for energy. So they do have a way to separate it out through the proventriculus valve at the end of the honey crop. Good question. Daniel, hey guys, thanks for all you do. Some bees only collect nectar and some only collect pollen. I take that to be a question. The way that it works perfectly is when a bee goes to get some nectar, they're also gathering up the pollen. It's kind of thank you that the flower says, thank you for pollinating. You know, when they pollinate the flowers, they're fertilizing the next flower they carry the pollen over to. And so they get to keep some rewards. Some of that pollen they get to take home, some of the nectar they get to take home. And so there are instances where bees are only going to plants that are bearing nectar and have very little to no pollen. And there are other times that bees are getting pollen and they have very little nectar. And so, yeah, that happens very frequently just that way, Daniel. Okay, hey David, how do you stop robbing? I've lost 3 hives from robbing. That's a big deal. Last night on the live stream, we actually gave away a robbing screen. So if you don't have a robbing screen already, get one before the summer dirt starts. That's going to be real important because it's hard to stop robbing once it starts. Now you can help prevent it by putting a robber screen on board, but it's going to be really hard for you to stop it once it starts. So be real careful about that. Robbing is one of those times of the year where it's just going to be crazy because bees start wanting to have a lot of resources that they're gathering and they don't have any. And the best way to get it is by attacking these other colonies and trying to get it that way. Alfred, my local supplier says feed 3 sugar, 1 water. I guess 3 parts sugar, 1 part water. Bees aren't drawing frame, but hoarding sugar water and pushing out queen's ability to lay. I've heard half sugar to 1 water will promote drawing frames. Thoughts? We usually feel the thinner the sugar mixture in the sugar water will help them to draw it out. Now, the literature that I've read a lot of articles like in Bee Culture and studies that Randy Oliver has done. And in a lot of my studies, what I've come to find out is that it oftentimes isn't going to make a lot of difference. I would say 1-to-1 sugar water is going to work just perfectly for you. I wouldn't go crazy on trying to get 2-to-1 mixtures or anything like that going on. I would stay with 1-to-1. Oftentimes we think 2-to-1 is more for storing getting bees prepared for winter. You want to put 2-to-1 on there, but 1-to-1 is going to work out really good for you guys. And some people might even want to go thinner, and I just don't think that's necessary. Marianne Livingston, I saw you last night on the live stream. If I open 300 capped drone cells from a green drone comb or frame, will that give an accurate count on mites, or are the mites concentrated on the green frames? That's a very good question, Marianne. They are concentrated in the drone area. A lot of people have come to find that to be the case. And so we don't really know, as far as I know, no literature, no studies have been done to give us an accurate mite count when you assess the mite load on a green drone comb. It's more of a trap and kill the mites than it is used for testing. So no help there. Hey, Ronald, how are you doing? Hi, David. Is it possible to have good operating hive if you can inspect it once a month or a month and a half? I live in Florida and my hive is in Michigan. I've started with the package on 18th of May this year. So I gathered that you're asking, if you can inspect it, I always say inspect it about every 2 weeks, but if you can't, you're going to inspect it every month, every 6 weeks, it sounds like. The problem that you can have, Ronald, is if you lose your queen and they fail to replace her, in about 21 days, you could have laying workers once all the brood and all the queen is gone, the brood is gone, no more pheromone. So I would be concerned about that and realizing that possibly you could have laying workers if you lost your queen. Of course, every 6 weeks, an inspection like that, mite levels could grow, pests and diseases could grow. It's only going to work if your hive remains strong and healthy. That's why we like to inspect regularly. It's going to be more of a gamble for you, Ronald. The less frequent that you can get in that hive, the more opportunity is something's going to happen under your watch and you won't know about it. So that is how that's going to work for you. Okay. Hi, David and Sherry. Been wondering why the queen would ever lay a drone egg. It seems that there's no evolutionary advantage. The drone contributes nothing to its home hive. Oh boy, I'll tell you, that is not the case at all. The drones produce the sperm, and they're the ones who fertilize the virgin queens. That's the heritage, the passing on of genetics boils down to the drones. And yeah, the drones are as important in reproduction as the queen is, because without drones, the queen can't lay fertilized eggs. So yeah, now that you probably understand that a little bit better, the drones are very, very, very important. I know what you're saying. They don't go out and get honey. They don't have a stinger and all that, but they keep reproduction going. Holly, I think I have an ant problem. What would you do? I don't see much about this. I've written a lot of articles and made a lot of videos on controlling ants. One of the ways you can do it is by elevating your hive on a platform with feet on it. And in those feet, you submerge those feet in something like water, where ants don't cross a water moat, or even vegetable oil. Ants and bugs aren't going to cross the oil or their dye, and pretty much your bees aren't going to get down in there. They're not around that area of the hive anyway. Other people use double-sided sticky tape around the bottom deep, and then they sprinkle cinnamon on the sticky side of your sticky tape, and the bees can't cross, or I'm sorry, the ants don't cross that that cinnamon, because ants don't like cinnamon. Most insects are turned off by that. They can't follow the pheromone trail once it goes into cinnamon, and so they're a little confused like that. There's a lot of other remedies people have for ants, I understand, but getting ants not to get inside your hive is key. That's the best way to do it. People talk about queen ants lays on inside the inner cover. There's just so many other remedies that people have mentioned, but stopping ants from getting inside is going to be your best method. Good question. Corey, as hurricane season approaches, I need to move my hives next to each other. Right now, they are all 30 to 40 feet from each other. Is it safe to move them that small distance overnight? Probably not. No, if you move a hive 6 inches to a foot, they're confused. They might take them a day or two to figure it out. You move them 3 to 6 feet, it's a lost cause. They don't know where their hive is anymore. They might figure it out, they may not. But if you start moving them 30 feet, yeah, they're going to be totally lost. You're going to have to move them inches at a time, or move them 3 miles, let them get used to that location, then move them back to your hive. Another trick that I use, Corey, is I'll try to move my hives to a new location and put something blocking the front in front of the hive, like park a lawnmower in front of it, or put a folding chair in front of it, forcing the foragers to take a reorientation flight. Putting grass in there and expecting them to move the grass out, and then they'll know where their new home is. That doesn't work, because as soon as they get airborne again, they're pretty much going to they're not taking an orientation flight. They're just moving grass and flying back to where their house was. That's always been a predicament. Beekeepers don't understand that once bees are locked into their location, really hard to get them to change. I'm hustling through all these questions because I wanted to answer every question that you guys presented. This is most of them, I think, at my live stream last night. Hey, Ross, just added Mite Formic strips to my hive. Mite? I know there's Formic Pro now. Mite, what was around before that, they're a little different. I'm assuming some bee loss is normal. Bee loss is always a potential anytime you treat for mites, whether you're treating with, Formic Pro, formic acid or salic acid, anything. There's always a risk that some bees can die. We try to stay by the label. If we veer off the label, if the temperature isn't where it needs to be, either, especially if it's too hot or something like that, there can be more fatality of bees. But I would say it's rare not to have some bees that die because of our treatments. And so that's just one of those things that happens. Formic Pro does get a bad rap sometimes of killing bees. And I'm not sure why that is. I think, I just don't know. I don't see that. I've never lost a queen. People do. And I'm not saying it's not a thing. I'm saying I just haven't experienced that. I treat according to the label, the temperature, and never go past the expiration date. The chemical gets stronger past the expiration date, and I think that could be a problem. So always a chance treatments can kill bees. How late is too late to split the bees? I'm seeing goldenrod getting ready to flower. I'm in South Central Pennsylvania. Look, here's the deal. The best time to make a split, I know I just answered this question in Western Kentucky. Best time to split is when bees are splitting naturally, all right? Get that in your head. My bees naturally split in the months of May and early June. That's when they decide they can make a split in a swarm, and then they can get ready for winter. When they split, I split. Make that be your rule of thumb. When your bees swarm, that's when you should be splitting. If your bees are not splitting in July and August, you shouldn't be splitting your hives in July and August. Yeah. Hey, Robin, David, what's your thoughts on the Layen hive? Can a newbie try that Layen hive? A lot of people love Layen hives. It's a whole different setup. For me, it would be just a matter of opinion and philosophy of a new beekeeper. I'm stuck on Langstroths. They work. I've tried other hives. None of the other hives I've ever used compares to a Langstroth. And that's probably because that's what I'm used to. That's what I've always used. You know, I like things that are familiar. Sorry, it's a Burns thing. See my shirt? It's a Burns thing. I mean, I've got other hives. I've got a Layens hive. Do I like a Layens hive better than a Langstroth? No, I don't. I like Langstroths better. Now, don't hate on me, all you Layens people. I know that if that's your thing, then you love it more. It's only a matter of kind of what I got used to. I've only spent not even a few months doing a Layens hive, so can't really report back yet. To me, they're a little bit more challenging to work because I'm used to a Langstroth. I'm not saying they're challenging because they're no good. They're challenging because it's not what I'm used to. Okay? So I would say, Robin, the best thing for you to do, get a Layens hive and try it. It might be the best thing since sliced bread for you. You can stand there, no heavy boxes to lift. They do have a lot of advantages. Pretty cool. They have a big following. They have a lot of people offering a lot of techniques to make Layens hive the best thing since sliced bread. Did I say sliced butter earlier? I feel like I said sliced butter, but they're the best things in sliced bread. And so you figure it out. You decide. It's really a personal preference. Oh, I'm almost done. Woo! Victor lost some weak nukes to small hive beetle. That's too bad. I do want to talk about that. Tried removing infected frames and adding brood frames from another hive, but when those maggots start sliming a frame, it's hard to save the hive. Any suggestions? Yeah, that's right, Victor. Small hive beetle is a problem this year. I don't have as many at all this year, so thankful for that. It's just wonderful not have to battle those babies. I've had whole yards infected with them before, and it's so bad. If you don't know what I'm talking about, when the larvae of a small hive beetle is in the wandering stage, they wander around and they eat everything. They defecate. They cause their enzymes that cause everything to ferment, and it's called sliming. It'll drip out of the hive, bad smell. It's really bad. And it's hard to recover from that. Especially weaker, you said the word weak, that's where small hive beetles love to go. A weak colony. Keep your colonies strong, and they'll make these beetle gels and keep them confined. And when you open your hive up, you'll kind of release these propolis beetle gels. You'll see your beetles run everywhere, but then you can smash and kill those beetles. So not much you can do once they're slimed like that. You can kind of do your best to clean it up and kill the beetles, but those small hive beetle larvae, boy, they're hard to kill, and they're hard to clean those frames up. All right, last question. Are screen top covers beneficial? Absolutely. Now, a screen top cover, I usually think of more like a screen inner cover, but if you're moving hives and it's not raining, those screen top covers can be beneficial because now you can put that on there and put that on there at night or something, get ready to move your hive. and it just allows a lot more ventilation. A lot of people use screen top covers, but I would not want a screen top cover on there all day long where the sun could hit it. Bees, larvae, and all that need to be kept dark inside the hive, so it's not a good idea. But certainly at night, and if you keep them in the shade and moving your hives or something like that, it can be a big help. Now, my live stream is every Thursday night. These were the questions that I didn't even have a chance to get to, even though I wore myself out answering your questions as fast as I could during my live stream. I thank you so much for being on my live stream every Thursday night. We're not going to be on live stream on the 4th of July if you're watching this video when I'm on the day it's published, but 4th of July happens to fall on a Thursday, so we're going to be doing family activities, but we'll pick it up the next week. We always have a bunch of giveaways. We have Spin to Win, a big wheel we turn, has some fun things on it that we do, and I always give a beekeeping teaching on my live stream as well, and I have a great team that helps me every Thursday night pull off a very informative, entertaining live stream, and most of all, it's a great family community activity where beekeepers can all get together and they talk amongst themselves in the chat and they have a great time together. And I'm there live to answer your questions, so do check me out. I'll leave a link right here. I'll leave a link in the description as well. Fun stuff. While we're talking about announcements and live streams, right here on the property, July the 27th, I'm having a live audience for my live stream. Tickets are available. We're only having 20 guests that are going to be invited, or you can buy a ticket until the tickets run out. But you'll be able to be a part of the live stream audience, and then we're going to have our live stream for the internet from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 2 on July 27th, and then from 2 to 3 it's meet and greet. We're going to be having giveaways for those of you that show up. We're going to be giving away some hives. I mean, we're giving away some good stuff. So if you can make the trip over, want to spend some time with me and Sherry and our team on July 27th, 1 in the afternoon, put it in your calendar, buy a ticket. Now, if you didn't see the last live stream that I had, where I did answer all these other questions except these, check it out right here, where I talk about, can you inspect a hive too often? I'll see you guys over there.